4
watching
feet of water.
Jaws.
Yeah, right. No, it's just that imagination of what could be there lurking under the waters.
Yeah. So do you have like any interesting stories, like perhaps a story where you barely made it alive off the ocean, like a terrible storm comes in and you barely escape, barely get back to land? Um, Anything along those lines?
Well, I prefer not to share the most harrowing and embarrassing of mishaps because
Hmm.
that's bad for charter business. People don't want to hear about the captain nearly killing himself.
Yeah.
There was a time. I'll share another story because this allows me to act like the hero. I
Go
was
ahead.
sailing back from San Francisco. I just dropped some passengers off by the Embarcadero, and I decided just on a whim that I was going to take the long way home around Treasure Island. And it was a very windy day, and the wind was blowing against the current. When you have a flood tide against a sort of southerly wind, you get these nasty waves that build up. And for the smaller boats, they issue a small craft advisory. My boat was big enough that, and I was going downwind, so it didn't really matter. But I
Mhm.
looked over and I saw this boat that was sticking out of the water, almost like, kind of looked like a cathedral or something, but sticking
Mm.
up and just bobbing up and down. And then I see debris sort of strewn about. So I got a closer look. It came over, uh, took in my sails, and saw that there were these three guys in the water clinging on to coolers and trying to grab onto the hull of the boat while it was rapidly sinking. And if I hadn't been there, there was another ferry boat that saw them at just about the same time. But the ferry
Mhm.
boat had very high freeboard. Like you wouldn't be able to just, climb up and over like you could with my boat. So I threw
Yeah.
them the life ring, and they were very grateful. They had been in the water for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And it's cold in Northern California. It's not like LA or San Diego where you can swim without a wetsuit. 45 minutes and you're gonna set into hypothermia. So
Yeah.
these guys, their phones were all broken, but they were happy to have escaped with their lives and at least some of their dignity intact. But that was one story that was about, I don't know, 6-8 months ago. But a more embarrassing one that I'll briefly mention. Outside the Golden Gate, I had this idea for a charter that I was kind of beta testing. It was a crabbing adventure outside the Golden Gate, and you set these crab pots. And I'd done it once with someone who knew what they were doing, and we caught like 20 crabs in 2 or 3 hours. So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be
Mhm.
easy money. I'll list this as an Airbnb experience, and my passengers are going to love me. We're going to bring them back to the dock with a bag full of crabs. So I went out and tested this with my family, my 2.5-year-old daughter, my wife, and then my 1-year-old son. And we ended up going out on a pretty strong ebb tide. So the water's washing out the Golden Gate. And we were kind of tucked away where the current wasn't so strong, setting the crab pots, but it was strong enough that I guess, I don't know exactly what happened because I lost the crab pots. They must have gotten carried away in the current. And I went looking for them. So I poked out from behind this little cove, and all of a sudden the boat just starts getting sucked by the current out
Ooh.
onto the open ocean. Next stop, Hawaii. So I turned the boat around and trying to sail downwind with the engine. Boat's going like 8 knots, but it can't make a single knot of speed over ground. Like the boat's not moving against the current relative to the current. So we're
Mhm.
staying in the same place, just trying to get back. Everybody's getting seasick. My 1-year-old son is throwing up on my wife, and finally we did make it back inside the Golden Gate after a couple hours of fighting against the current. So that was one of the more humbling experiences, and it kind of made us rethink some of our short-term cruising plans for going down to LA and such. But truly, the worst waves you'll encounter almost anywhere are right outside the Golden Gate. The Pacific Ocean, it's false advertising. There's nothing Pacific about it. It's quite windy, and you get some pretty nasty waves.